Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Wednesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. Luka Dončić scores his first triple-double as a Laker as LA beats Dallas 107-99. Break it down next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. This one's always going to be free and never, ever, ever behind a paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where over 32,000 subscribers, Andy, are just continue to watch the Lakers creep up the Western Conference standings. Another win on Tuesday. This one over Dallas, 107-99, highlighted by Luka Dončić and his first triple-double. As a Laker, it comes against his former team. He was very clearly keyed up for this one. There's no question about that. And, particularly in the first half, Andy, you got a full taste of all the range of things that Luka can do when he is playing well, feeling comfortable, all that stuff. That first half had all of it.
Luka is now officially averaging a triple-double against the Dallas Mavericks, 19 points, 15 rebounds, 12 assists against 2 turnovers. That is not a bad way to start, I guess, your stats against the one team you had never played in your career. He also had 3 steals and 2 blocks to go along with that. It was funny. There was a sequence in the first quarter where Luka had back-to-back threes. The second one ended up getting wiped out during a timeout. Dallas challenged it, and they were correct. Luka, in attempting to step back, his foot was barely on the line, but it was. But on the Spectrum Sportsnet feed of this game, after the second 3 in the Dallas timeout, they cut over to Mark Cuban, who, for those who are unaware, he is now a minority owner of the team. He does not have nearly the same control as he had before. Some would say he has damn near none at this point.
If he had any semblance of control or say over personnel decisions in Dallas, Luka would still be there. So
right, and that was the look on Cuban's face. I tweeted out at Cam Brothers, his thought bubble was probably something along the lines of, "Yeah, bro, don't blame me for this bleep." Like Nope. He had this look on his face, like, I cannot believe this guy is on another team. You had the range of playmaking from Luka. You had the range of shot making from Luka. You had the range of early techs from Luka. He got teed up very quickly.
Whole experience.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you got the whole deal. But there were just, we'll get into Luka because obviously his performance in that storyline against this team, it's obviously the overarching story, but this was a game that you could tell meant a lot to Luka on a lot of different levels.
I appreciated the candor that he had after the game, talking about not just the emotion that went into it. It was, like you say, obviously an important one, one that has taken up, like, you get anybody, you have those big events, you have all that initial rush of energy, and then you got to kind of get through it. And this was, you could see the difference in the first half and the second half. I think he did use a lot of emotional energy just in the lead up and the afterwards. But he said when it was over, he was asked about closure. Like, does this kind of give you some closure on it? He's like, no, like, we're not done yet. Like, it doesn't happen instantly. And it's just a reminder, I think, for basketball fans, for people observing the Lakers and all that, like, this process for Luka to become not just, more comfortable playing with LeBron, not just more comfortable playing with, Reeves, getting used to Redick's system, the defensive rotation. It's still going to take time to get used to literally being a Laker, literally having your home base be Los Angeles. Like all of that stuff is just going to take time. But in the meantime, the Lakers continue to win games, and they're doing it without Luka, having to be at his best. They moved to 14 games over 500 with this win on Tuesday. And we're certainly seeing between Saturday and I think especially again, the first half of this game, and then moments, in the third and the fourth, but we're seeing what it can look like, and we're seeing what Dončić brings and how he changes what the Lakers are capable of in these moments of really good play. And when it clicks, man, we saw it on Saturday again. We saw it tonight. Oh my God, it is fun basketball to watch.
Piggybacking onto the piece of, the piece about this with closure, Luka said, quote, the closure is going to take a while, I think, because he was asked if he found closure in this game.
Yeah.
Closure is going to take a while, I think. It's not ideal, it being how I ended up here. And I think a lot of what was being messaged along the way. But then he said, quote, but like I said, I'm glad this game is over. There's a lot of emotions, but we go little by little, and every day is better. And you can, if nothing else, Luka is leaning into the idea of, I am announcing myself as a Laker. I am ingratiating myself with this franchise, with this city. Began a couple weeks ago when he donated $500,000 to the wildfire relief. I don't know if you saw, but before the game, he had set up a parking lot where your parking for this game, if you happen to get this lot, was prepaid courtesy of Luka Dončić. There was also a Jumpman ad that debuted today, and this was just chef's kiss petty. It's a figure that is supposed to be Luka. I don't think it was actually him, but he's in front of an absolutely sick-looking purple sports car that I have no idea what type of car it is, because A, I'm not a car guy, and B, even if I was, I would never be able to afford a car like this, so why bother learning what it is? But he's changing out this license plate, make it like a purple 77, and in the background, that country song, All My Exes Live in Texas, is playing, and that's just, again, there's a lot for him to wrap his head around, I think, still now, but the guy is very much, I think, embracing the idea of A, being a Laker, B, being in a really good situation. And the more time that is passing with this team, the more you see him just smiling, animated, and I think he recognizes, man, like, this isn't how I wanted it to happen, but I got a good thing going right now.
He didn't get traded to like Charlotte or something. I mean, like,
Always
it's not
Charlotte,
Orlando. I mean, or he didn't end up in some sort of NBA backwater location. Like, he is with the Los Angeles Lakers, and flawless team, no, flawless management, no, but like, there are worse places to end up than LA playing for the Lakers. And
you could be on a team dumb enough to trade Luka Dončić,
for example. And you start to go through it, and like that first half, LeBron is, we're getting used to this with LeBron, where you can look up and you say like, oh, it wasn't a great game all the way through, and this, that, whatever it might be, and you look up and he's got like 26 and 12 and 8, and you're like, it doesn't, and like that becomes the sort of ordinary LeBron game. And like Luka, the peripheral numbers, aside from the scoring, were huge, and his rebounding in the first half, his ball movement in the first half, the level of playmaking the Lakers were able to put together, particularly again in that first half, was stunning at times. They really had a good rhythm working between Reeves and LeBron and Luka. And you just, if he's not going to shoot 35% for the rest of the season. And the lines for something like tonight, where he, gets the triple double, but it's a 19-point triple double when he shoots, 10 of 19 or something like that with a couple more threes. He's not 1 of 7. Like that 19-point triple-double becomes a 29-point triple-double or 30-point triple-double. There's a tremendous amount to look forward to, including, Andy, what the arrival of Luka can mean for LeBron James and how the Lakers score down the stretch. Some fascinating stuff happening in the fourth quarter on Tuesday. We'll get into that next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Reminder, investing involves risks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from the first match. You must keep your funds in an IRA for 5 years. Go to robinhood.com/boost for details. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate. Claim is based on data from FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
A quick reminder for folks who may not have done it yet, you can sign up for the Locked On Lakers newsletter. You have this podcast delivered to you every single day, along with a bunch of great analysis from around the NBA channel here at Locked On. So you go to lockedondaily.com, click on Locked On Lakers, and that is it. That's all it takes. And then once you've done that and you've subscribed on iTunes and you've subscribed on YouTube, you've covered your bases. You're never going to miss a show, and we certainly appreciate that. Somebody, Jonathan Severino pointed out, I believe it was him on the chat, things kind of flying by, the comments are going by. Obviously Luka still working himself into shape, used up a lot of energy and kind of ran out of gas in the second half. And I agree with him. LeBron James, on the other hand, did not. And that's part based on the amount of stuff that Luka is able to do for this team and for him. Like LeBron had 11 points going into the fourth quarter, finished with 27. So that, by my math, is 16 in the fourth. And you can tell, Andy, how much less responsibility he has because he was third on the team in assists on Tuesday night. Reeves had 5, LeBron only had 3. And it's not because LeBron was getting all ball hoggy. It's because he didn't have to carry that creation burden throughout the game. And you could see the difference between what he had left in the fourth and particularly what he was able to do 4 quarters worth of defense.
Yeah, I want to get more into the defense maybe for Thursday's show, just because there's a lot of game to cover. And JJ had some, I think, really interesting comments about LeBron's defense and describing it as all defensive team level defense over the last 6 or so weeks, and just what that means for the overall defense. But you talked about that fourth quarter, 16 points on 7 of 9 from the field. He hit the only 3 that he attempted, got to the line twice, made 1 of them, plus 5 rebounds and 2 assists, no turnovers. LeBron has always been counted on to be a closer on any team he's been a part of because he is typically the best player on any team he's been a part of. And even on a team like the Lakers over the last couple of years, where you and I both argued Anthony Davis was actually a better player than LeBron on a game in, game out two-way basis, LeBron was still better equipped to close on a regular basis just because there's certain things he can do with the ball, orchestrating everything that AD that's not his game. But the idea that LeBron can actually now close with more of a reservoir of energy while still playing hard, as opposed to pacing himself over 4 quarters so he can crank it up in the fourth, but you have to account for the 3 quarters where he's not playing at that level. That is a totally different calculus for what you look for from LeBron in the fourth quarter, taking over and how you get it. It's a completely different math.
And a couple of the buckets, not all of them, but a couple of the buckets were in what I'm really trying to see, and I know you are too, I know everybody is like what is different about how stuff happens when all of these guys play together. And the way that there are at least 2 buckets that stood out as doesn't happen without Luka buckets. The first one, LeBron leaks out, on that, on the break, and Luka is not running the floor, but a few dribbles and he sees LeBron. LeBron seals Christie off on the other end. Luka can make that pass in the same way that we've seen LeBron do to Luka even a few times since he arrived. Luka can make that pass over the top. LeBron gets it and scores. That play does not happen without Luka here, because if he's not, LeBron is the one with the ball. So very likely.
Or it might be Austin making that pass, and sometimes Austin can, but Austin is not at that level yet where you feel 100% confident with him doing it. And he made a pass like
generally
that.
speaking, you just don't see that leak out, in the same way that, and then another one was the putback that LeBron had, when he's, comes off from the corner, crashes the glass from the right corner and gets the putback dunk. Like, that is another play that likely doesn't happen that way because LeBron generally isn't in that spot to go crash the glass off ball, moving and all that kind of stuff. I mean, like, I know there was a lot of criticism of this trade, Andy, in the sense of, well, Luka and LeBron can't play together because neither of those guys move off the ball. LeBron certainly has over the last couple games. Like, I think LeBron can run at 40 years old. Running is not the problem for LeBron. He can, if all you're asking him to do is run straight ahead, do that kind of, he can do that for days.
Easy. That's easy for him.
And so the ability to go crash the glass, to run up the floor, to get rewarded just by the easiest thing, which is beating his man down the floor and not having to physically, figure out how to break him down and all that. Like, he can do that for 1,000 times in a game. And those were the kinds of little plays where I was like, okay, well, this is different. This is because the team is arranged around Luka.
2 things. First, great comment from Demented Sicario. Somehow Luka is fast and slow at the same time, which is both accurate and hilarious. But yes. I also wanted to highlight this comment from Willie Thomas. Michael Jordan couldn't play with another alpha. That's why LeBron is the true GOAT. And I do not want to get into a Jordan v. LeBron GOAT conversation. For those new to the show, you will find very few basketball topics that bore the crap out of Brian and I more than deciding who's the GOAT. I don't care who you think is the GOAT.
Like where Kobe ranks, who is LeBron better than Kobe. We're not arguing about that either.
I just don't care. Like, as long as you're not throwing out somebody that makes just no sense, choose your own GOAT and run with it. Don't care. But that piece of LeBron's, the willingness to play with other alphas, whether you're talking about Dwayne Wade, whether you're talking about Kyrie, AD, now Luka. And to be clear, all these guys who make the NBA, they're all alphas in their own right. Yeah. Like, you don't get this far, but there are relative alpha scales in the NBA. And then there are the guys that are the alpha because they are generally hands down the best player on their team. They're typically scorers, all that stuff. They fall into the stereotypical alpha. LeBron's willingness to cede that ground while still performing like the alpha of any team, that is actually a great quality of his. And I'd never thought about it along those lines, like the way Willie was framing it there, like as a GOAT characteristic, like a GOAT quality.
I think certainly the ability to mesh with guys, because Pippen is different than Wade, although when Pippen was without Jordan, he was certainly a different kind of player. And I think, I don't want not to contradict is the wrong word, but like when he played with Wade, that thing clicked when LeBron clearly became, it was kind of still like, we're going to operate around LeBron in the same way that Redick has said, we're going to operate around Redick. When he was with Kyrie, he was the center of that team and all that kind of stuff. I think what makes it so special,
but he never fights over territory, and
he didn't have to.
Well, you don't.
I don't want, and we don't need to get too far down this, but I mean, the reality is he didn't need to argue about who, because he was the best player on the planet and everybody knew it. I think what makes this different is there is a level of security that LeBron has in himself and in his place in basketball history, and he's 40 flipping years old. Like there are concessions that could this be different if LeBron was 30 and Luka was 25? Sure. I don't know. We're not going to find out. But I find the idea, and found from the moment that they traded for Luka, I found the idea that LeBron wouldn't give up the space that is required for Luka to be Luka. And that is the only way you get to the ceiling of this team is if that happens. You cannot make Luka try to fit into what you're doing. It doesn't mean he's going to put up the same exact numbers. It's going to operate the same as it did in Dallas, whatever. But ultimately, this needs to be a Luka Dončić operation offensively. The idea that LeBron wouldn't let that happen at this point in his career, given everything he's accomplished and how he chooses to play the game, seemed bizarre to me.
Yeah.
It was just, talking sports radio, hot takery that was just obviously not going to be the case. Other things, Andy, there's a lot that we need to cover with. We talked about Luka and a strong triple-double despite only shooting, what was it, 6 of 19, I think it was, something like that. An off shooting night, a strong LeBron game. But there were a bunch of other dudes who deserve some credit for what the Lakers did on Tuesday night, and are, I think, big reasons to be optimistic about what they are going forward. So we'll get into all that next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's really simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. So after an epic 50-point performance, you can celebrate with some wings, pizza, burgers from your favorite spot delivered straight to your door. Or maybe it's lunch at work on the go. With the Dash Pass, you get your favorite meals with zero delivery fees and reduced service fees, plus $0 delivery fees and reduced service fees. Plus, now you save even more with this exclusive offer. Sign up for the Dash Pass. Be ready to save. Again, 50 points or more, 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. You must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more.
So, look, in the first half, and this is, to be fair, I'm sure that, we missed, the Lakers missed a ton of what we now refer to as butt naked shots, courtesy of Dorian Finney-Smith.
Butt naked, wide open.
Butt naked, wide open.
Otherwise, butt naked is just a streaker putting up shots. They got to be butt naked, wide open.
Whether we have to use the whole expression, but yes, butt naked, wide open.
You use the whole expression because it sounds better with the whole expression.
Either way, they're going to get a ton of them. They missed a few of them, to say the least, especially early. That is nothing compared to how poorly Dallas shot, where it seemed like they were using a ball that was actually too large to fit into the rim. And they made up for it a little bit in the second half. Clay got super duper hot and all that stuff. But I throw whatever caveats you want in there, Andy. This is the fourth game now in a row where the Lakers have held a team to basically 100 points, in this case 99. And like that is good work defensively. There were flaws. They gave up far too many offensive rebounds, but in the end, you look up at the scoreboard and the Lakers continue to play really good defense. That is, we talked about LeBron. It's a lot of guys like Jared Vanderbilt, and especially the impact of Dorian Finney-Smith, I think.
Yeah, DFS, fold this into some of the defense conversation I want to have for Thursday, but JJ was very intentional in shouting out DFS and his play, talking about down the stretch, whether you're talking about poking away a ball from Kyrie for a big turnover in the last couple of minutes, an offensive rebound put back on a LeBron miss. It's just another game where it's one of the few, ironically, where DFS is not like the plus minus king. He's actually -1 tonight, but 8 rebounds, 4 on the offensive glass, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and just an energy that I think has really been contagious for this entire team. There were elements that I think were also picked up by Vando's return, by Gabe Vincent rebounding from a really slow, borderline unplayable start to the season. Like, it's created a collective energy. I think, Goodwin deserves some credit there as well. Like, he's another game where he's looking like a rotation player.
He plays incredibly hard.
Yes, he does.
I mean, he plays like a guy who is trying desperately to stay in the league, which he sort of is. But like, that matters. Like, you just have a guy like that in your backcourt who plays that flipping hard. It makes a difference.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason Jordan Goodwin has solidified a rotation spot on this team, or at the very least, he's beaten out Shake Milton, and there will be nights where he plays more than Dalton Connect, just because defensively and with the rebounding and the physicality, he plays bigger than his size. Also want to shout out Rui, because this is 2 games in a row where Rui's defense has been really good. Max Christie's return to LA. He had some nice moments. He had back-to-back threes in the second half, and he got the start tonight, but 4 of 13 from the field for 10 points. And a lot of this was Rui hounding the absolute bleep out of him. He had a monster block on Max, and I was surprised did not get teed up, because he actually stopped. It was very un-Rui-like, but he stopped and did like a roar over Max. Maybe the refs recognize these guys are former teammates. They're having fun with each other. This is not going to turn into a fight, but Rui,
certainly not between those two.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's not going to be a fight. And on the heels of the defense that Rui played against Jokic as the primary guy starting possessions against Jokic, and for at times holding him in single coverage, like just bothering him, bodying him, just physicality. These are 2 really strong games in a row. Like, the 15 points from Rui is great, but that's more along the lines of what you expect from him anyway. Like, that's sort of the baseline of what you're looking for from Rui is scoring. But it's 2 games in a row where just his activity defensively has been a real boost for this team.
I just, not to use up Thursday's show, but he is, as a group, not to keep beating this theme down, but it's like they don't have a ton of center depth. We get that. They're going to play half of every game without a traditional five.
And Jackson Hayes played well in this game.
Jackson Hayes played great. And
Yeah.
and they mentioned this on the TNT broadcast, and it was Greg Anthony who said it. Like, Jackson Hayes is going to shoot 90, and this part he didn't say, but like we've said it on the show, Jackson Hayes, if he pays attention and does what he needs to do, is going to shoot 90% for the rest of the year, because 90% of his shots are going to be dunks. They're going to be alley-oops. He's not going to take a shot from more than 5 feet away from the basket unless he's doing it wrong or it's the end of a quarter. And so, but there is, that sort of spacing. Anthony called it spacing in the paint, that he's got to learn, and the timing of when to come off a screen to be able to, because teams are going to, Dallas did muck up the game a little bit for the Lakers with a lot of ball pressure and stuff like that. But as the Lakers adjust, we saw it with, on Saturday, we saw different instances again. On Tuesday, LeBron and Luka in particular can make alley-oop style passes or lob passes into the inside from 5 or 6 feet further away than most people can in the half court. So like, they're 8-10 feet. If you're still moving and sealing your guy and whatever, they will find you. And so whether it's the timing off of screens, whether it's in the paint in little short rolls, or 35 feet away, making yourself available, Hayes is learning that, and he's doing really well with it. But even when he doesn't play, they are not small. They are not a small team. They've got a ton of length, and I think just look really mobile right now, with Vando on the floor and Rui really engaged defensively, and LeBron playing defense like he has in the regular season in no season I can remember with the Lakers in the last few, at least.
With regards to that size, we've mentioned this before as well. Like, other than when Gabe is playing, often for Austin, like the smallest guy on the floor for long stretches is going to be Austin. And for Austin's position, he's not small.
6'5".
Like, right. He was small when some of the guard-centric lineups that, I think Darvin, to be fair to Darvin, was often forced to play because of the roster that he had. But like when Austin Reeves is playing the 3, he's obviously too small for those looks. And sometimes even like as a 2, depending on who he's matched up against, he can get bullied around in that. But there are very few point guards who, as that matchup, is going to have a huge size advantage or strength advantage over Austin. I'm not saying it won't ever happen. But if he's your smallest guy, like particularly a closing lineup of LeBron, Luka, Austin, DFS, and Rui, which I think we're going to see a lot of, if Austin's the smallest guy, and just for the record, Austin had a nice game tonight as well too. Like, if Austin's the smallest guy there, it's not a liability.
No, and because the way they're playing, and the style that they're using, and all of that, you're not reliant on him. The problem with Reeves defensively was never effort. It's just that he's got some limitations on that side. So like, he was often being asked to guard the opposition's best backcourt player. That's not a good position for him to be in. The way the Lakers are playing defense now, that's less of a thing. He's just slotted in different places. And the team schemes are really good, and all of that. So plenty to get excited about. We couldn't cover all of it in this show, Andy, but
I did want to make sure, though, just because I consider us very polite members of the LA media. There was a chant at one point in the game. Thank you, Nico.
Clap, clap, clap.
Thank you, Nico. We also want to thank you, Nico.
Yeah,
want to make sure that because we were not in the building for it, and just thank you, Nico.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised. AD got a video. I'm surprised.
It was nice.
I'm surprised the Lakers didn't have one for Nico.
It's funny. Nico was watching. He was on the sideline as Luka was warming up, and Luka was asked if he was aware that if Nico was there, if he thought about, saying anything to him or whatever. And Luka said he didn't see Nico there. Respectfully, I
don't believe you.
I don't believe him. I do believe, though, that Luka heard the "Thank you, Nico" chants.
I do not believe that at all.
No.
Anyway, lots to still stay excited about. The Lakers is facing Minnesota on Thursday. They had a great comeback against Oklahoma City earlier this week, so that will be something to look forward to. Lakers continuing to play good teams, and at least in the last couple, posting good results. So Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 32,000 subscribers. Make sure you are one of them. Maybe push it closer to 33 if you're not. Great place to hang out. Great place to leave questions, leave comments. We do read them every single day, and we try to respond as well. We will see everyone tomorrow.